Hey, Andy, everything's okay.
Everything's still good, man. We're that much closer to a tax cut for billionaires. So every day that we get closer to that, I feel better.
Yeah,
Um, Real quick, me and you talked earlier today, and we have two things we wanted to kind of talk about tonight. But I'm going to run through just kind of a quick recap of what's happened in the past 48 hours. Um, on the two things that we're going to talk about tonight, I sent you several links. Did you read any of it?
no, no, didn't read one.
I
No.
talked to you and I said I'm going to send you these links, and you were like, "Yeah, send it, and I'll read it." And then you didn't.
Yeah, I had every intention of reading those links, but every time I even thought about reading those links, I was like, this is going to depress me. I'll just let Andy fill me in.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll get there. I talked to another one of our mutual friends today that has like knowledge about one of these two topics, and
Okay.
he would be the perfect person to have on here. But like you could tell that just bringing it up like got such a reaction from out of him. It wouldn't have been good. Like he would have gone on like a rant and driven him into a dark place. So yeah, we'll talk about that later.
I
Anyhow,
mean, you could just get on for like 10 minutes.
I tried.
I know who you're talking about, I
Yeah.
think. And
Maybe if I screw up, because he taught me more than I was reading online. So if I screw this stuff up, maybe it'll like anger him to the point of coming on to set me straight and correct the things I say wrong.
all right,
Anywho, um, quick thing. It looks like we are not going to have a government shutdown, and we are going to have a continuing resolution that's going to last till September.
I
It'll
hope not.
be
Got this mother down. I want to shut
so
down.
the first, this is kind of funny though. The first 9 months of Donald Trump's presidency are going to be with Biden slash Pelosi funding levels. So, and in fact, it turns out the month of February was the highest spending month for the government. Now, supposedly by like February 1st, Elon Musk had found all these billions in savings that he had already saved us. Well, apparently it didn't make a dent because we spent more money in February than we've ever spent in 1 month. Anywho,
Shut it down. Shut down the government.
so
It doesn't sound like it's going to pass the Senate. They need 60 votes, right? They
oh,
need
it's going to
eight
pass.
Democrats to flip.
So today Schumer, because Schumer had been saying that I don't think we're going to let this through, and then today Schumer came out and said that he is going to vote for it. And there are certain ones, Fetterman, Sinema, Schumer, that we know we're going to vote for it. And all the reporting tonight is that there's going to be at least eight. Now that's not to pass. This is a weird thing, but that vote that they need 60 votes for is just for cloture. They call it cloture. I don't know what that means. But it's basically marrying the Senate bill with the House bill so that then we can vote on it. They need 60 votes for that, but they only need 50 to pass the budget. So the Democrats are going to try to do like a little. This guy named Tim Miller with the Bulwark. He called it a limp objection, and I kind of like that. But they're gonna vote for cloture, allowing it to be put on the floor for a 50 vote or 51 vote, simple majority. But then they're going to vote against the actual the CR, so that they're going to try to turn around to their constituents and be like, "We voted no," but like I'm so back and forth on this. I understand I know where you're at on this, and I totally
I'm
understand
making
you.
myself a note, and I'm going
Okay.
to call my senator, and I'm going to call every senator that I think is going to vote yes on this,
Okay.
and I'm going to plead my case and tell them no, do
Here,
not give in. We do not want to work with the Republicans at this point.
can I tell you why this is a double-edged sword?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So if they shut down the government, and like I was all for shutting down the government. Like yesterday, I watched enough liberal stuff on YouTube to where I was like, "Oh, shut it down! Like make the Republicans eat this." Like the Republicans need seven or I think eight Democrats to cross the line, and they didn't even try to like reach out and negotiate anything with them. They just did their own bill without talking to the Dems, and then said, "Okay, we expect eight of you to come with us." I feel like shutting it down for a couple days into next week and say, no, we need to get something out of this. Something, so I don't care if it could be something tiny, but get
A lot,
something out of it.
everything,
They're
everything.
only going to have like three different points of leverage in these first 2 years, and this is the first one of three. And this is where they could get something out of their eight votes. Um, but if you shut down the government, and I listened to a podcast about this, and it made a lot of sense. That guy Russ Vo, he is the guy that was the architect of Project 2025. He's the leader of OM&B. So he's the guy that controls kind of everything about the government works. He's the guy that's helping Elon, like him and Elon together are slashing government. Okay, if if the government shuts down, he basically gets to pick who gets furloughed and who gets paid, and it would basically give him a free path to getting rid of half the government like he wants to, and like not bringing them back after the government shut down. Like it'd be a gift to him. Okay, so it would aid Elon and Russ Vo in their goal of getting rid of half the federal workforce. It would. Okay, and they explained all the reasons why, and the head of OM&B technically can do a lot of stuff with that shutdown.
So the shutdown doesn't put Elon's work on hold.
No, so apparently the Office of OM&B decides who gets furloughed and who doesn't. So they can just furlough the Department of Education or like they could furlough certain entire departments that they don't like and just furlough them. And then even when there's a deal, he can there's sneaky ways where he could wait multiple months before bringing them back and not pay them for that time off, which would then force a lot of them to go out and get jobs elsewhere to where when he finally does bring them back, like, oh, look, half the department left.
So this is tough because I feel like them firing people, them getting rid of people, doing their BS work
Mm.
is actually in our favor. Like people are starting to see, and
Yeah.
we're only how many months in? 2 months in?
We're 50,
2.5?
50, 53 days in, I believe.
53 days. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're 53 days in, and people are starting to turn on Trump,
So
right?
what's funny is we talked about it last time, but we now know a couple people who like have been affected by the government layoffs, and apparently that's just the very beginning. Today was the due date for each agency to submit their like submittal proposal, whatever, for how they're going to
Mhm.
slash their department. So that was all turned in today, and then they're probably going to go through with it next week or doing. Apparently that's going to be like beyond like in the tens of thousands, like 20 to 30,000 jobs. Like this week you're going to get lost.
So you know how Canada's kind of like they're forming an alliance together. They're
Yeah.
coming together and they're like, let's just ride this out, Bugs in our face, no helmet, we're riding this out. Maybe we should do that too. Because I feel like how long is it going to take before people start rioting the streets, even Republicans start rioting the streets
So
over Donald Trump? I mean,
So that is kind of, and I'm not a Schumer guy at all, but supposedly that is the Schumer theory going forward. Is no, no, no. Let's fund the government. Let's let them fund the government, and let's sit back and like they're gonna do so many things that are gonna piss off America that they'll be rioting in the streets, and then we'll jump out and do whatever. So that's their whole mentality right now. Is like let's give them what they want. Let's fund the government, or let's get out of the way and let them fund the government. And then we know that if we just shut up and sit back, they're going to do enough to piss everybody off and rally the troops. So that is the Schumer thought process here. And in order to do that, the part of that is funding the government so that they can continue on as they've been doing and fire all these employees and blah. Because if they shut down the government, there's no mass layoffs next week of 80,000. I'm jumping ahead, 80,000. 20 to 30,000 people, and like they'd rather have the government funded and then them take all the heat for firing all those people next week versus shutting it down. So there is an argument to be made that letting them fund the government might be the right play, but I'm back and forth on it.
yeah, okay.
I
Yeah,
mean, it
and
makes sense.
I also want to see somebody. I want to see him fight. Like I've been thinking about
That's
this a lot, and I think it was Kyle Kalinske, obviously, who who mentioned this. He said he wanted to see all the Democrats get kicked out of the State of the Union, and I kind of agree with him. Like, because then they would have been on all the talk shows. Everybody would have wanted to talk to him. Why did you do this? What happened? Like, it would have, and then they get their talking points. Hey, he's doing this, this, and this. This is illegal. Everything he's doing is illegal. He should be in court right now for the things that he's doing.
they are in court right now.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Yeah, but
but and
he's not.
I get I get what you're saying. I want somebody to stand up to him. Right now, they like I said, they only have like 3 points of leverage where they could potentially stand up to him. And the theory among more of the centrist Democrats is that this isn't the one. Like we need to let them go through with their plan and let America see what they're trying to do. Whereas if we shut the government, they can do most of it in the dark. Like they're still going to do all that stuff, but it won't come to light. Like it won't be as obvious. So we need the
Okay.
government. And so, like I said, there's an argument to be made for that. Now, I am mostly mad. The only reason I don't like this is because, just like you just said, like somebody stand up to this guy, like fight in somehow, some way.
Not somebody, all of them.
Yeah,
All of them
but
needs.
this isn't the moment, according to that line of thought. That's all I'm saying. It's not as
There's moments every single day for it.
I'm just saying. Oh yeah, they need to find all the other moments. Okay, real quick on the court thing. Today I think it was yesterday, one of the two judges that's handling like Doge cases right now ordered that they do have to be they have to follow the Open Records Act. They have to give stuff up for freedom of information requests. Um, Another judge, Judge Chudkin, who had like the January 6th case in D.C. that was under her, she now has one of the Doge cases. She today said that Elon has to testify about a lot of stuff involving Doge. It's
Okay.
not going to be a like deposition where it's him sitting there with the other attorney. It's two parts. It's going to be a written. They call that an interrogatory, a written deposition like Trump gave. And then the other thing is what's called a request for admission. And this is where, and she was very clear that he has to do this under penalty of perjury. This is where it could get dicey. A request for admission, basically, the lawyer is going to submit a series of comments, and he can either admit or deny. So they're trying to get him on record. Like, are you part of Doge? Like, are you the head? Whatever it is, normally when you do that, from what I listened to a lawyer talk about this tonight, if you do a request for admission, it's because you're trying to catch them lying. Like they probably have some evidence somewhere, and they know that Elon's going to come out and say, "Nope, I have nothing to do with Doge," and then they're going to be like, "Boom!" Like we have all these emails here showing that he's directing, blah 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 blah. That's a
Hmm.
perjury trap. So the written one, the interrogatory, like I feel like he's going to be able to kind of weasel his way, like kind of not
Yeah.
saying kind of just be a bullshitter on paper. Like his lawyers will do a good job of saying a lot without saying anything. I feel like he's safe there. The interrogatory is point blank. Like, are you the head of Doge? Have you ever directed anybody to do anything at Doge? Like,
Oh.
yeah. And also and this is the states. It's led by New Mexico, but it's several Democrat states that are suing, claiming irreparable harm because of the cuts made at Doge. Is basically the lawsuit.
Hmm.
Um, they crafted this thing that they got approved today by the judge. They did it in a way where Trump can't claim executive privilege or take it to the Supreme Court or anything like that. Like it's very narrow and it leaves Trump out of it all. So
Hmm.
interesting. I don't know if we're going to get to see that. Like when he submits it, I don't know if it'll be open or if it'll be sealed or what. But that's supposedly request for admission is a perjury trap. So another
Hmm.
bad thing for Elon. By the way, I should have sent you this. So Trump did the Tesla commercial on the lawn the other day, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
Sean Hannity, like that next morning, was like, "I just went and bought my third Tesla, like, and it was
Oh, yeah.
amazing." Blah blah blah, and like all these conservative influencers jumped on and were basically doing like like little spots for Tesla, and Elon was retweeting every single one of them. It's like, oh, the whole GOP is trying to band together to like convince Republicans to buy an electric vehicle. That's kind of funny. One person I saw on Twitter was like, "Oh wow, we should tell them that we're banning books too. It'll make them all go out and start buying books. Like, just you could have fun with this." Anyhow, let's see here. The stock market crashed again today. I don't know what it ended up. At one point, it was down 650. I think it probably ended up around 500, but I stopped watching it. The market has crashed so much in the last 2 or 3, or I guess 4 days total, that if a Democrat was president, Republicans would be flipping out all
Yeah.
over the news about the market crash. And it's odd because they're all going, ah, this is a momentary blip, blah blah blah. Like they all,
Well, they're blaming it on Biden too. They're
they're
like,
saying it's a
this
Biden.
is
So
Biden economic.
Fox News is saying that a lot of the Republican senators I've seen like go on CNN, for example, like aren't trying to pull that because I think they know they're going to get called on it. But they're all
Yeah.
basically like, hey, this is short-term pain. The market's going to bounce back, blah blah. Which I said the other night, if suddenly all the trade wars go away, if this all gets fixed, I think the market will bounce back, not all the way, but it'll come back a bit. And
Yeah,
anyhow,
and it'll take a little while because everybody's kind of uncertain, and
mm,
the uncertainty, if he just stops talking about tariffs, then maybe for a month, maybe after a
yeah,
month it'll
yeah.
start bouncing back.
No,
But
so he needs total resolution on all the things that are spooking the economy right now, which like the Ukraine Russia thing even like if they come to a for real peace deal, like that's solved for a couple of years at least, it's solved. And at the same
yeah,
time, all the trade wars resolve and we have new trade agreements with Europe and with Canada and Mexico. If all that suddenly is just resolved and we really feel like it's not going to be a problem anymore, the economy will take a major step forward. Like it will. Like I guarantee everybody will feel better and start spending again. But until he gives up all this crap, everybody's going to be afraid. Which I saw a report today that airlines are suffering because like normally people have bought up tickets for like the summer for summer trips and all that. And a lot of people just aren't wanting to plan trips right now because they don't know what the economy is going to be like. So
yeah.
it's gonna get bad economy wise, but it seems like Trump's totally fine with short term pain to get the billionaire tax cut. So
Oh yeah.
the
Well,
worries
I
about
mean,
that.
and if the billionaire tax cuts happen, like, is the economy going to actually bounce back? I don't think
Yeah, I mean
so.
the stock market will bounce back. That'd be about it. I mean that's what they
How did,
affect.
like, what? I mean, have you talked to any right wingers about the tax cuts?
No, actually, I've never thought to go there. I have other places I normally go.
Yeah, I'm wondering what they think about like what they're thinking about the tax cuts. Like, are they thinking like, oh, we're all going to get tax cuts, it's going to be great, or are
So
they think like it's trickle down economics and it's going to be fantastic and we're all going to live in harmony?
So
Or
they are kind of being told that, oh, the tax cuts are for everybody. Like everybody's going to get a tax cut, and like very few of them realize that in most of their tax brackets, they're either not going to get a cut or pay about $700 a year more, which isn't a lot, but they're not getting a cut. I don't think most of them realize that. But also, I
well,
saw this facet. It's a psychological deal where like Americans are this weird, like we all think that we might hit it big any minute. Like we could be rich. Like that's we have this
oh,
thing. So we think, oh, we could be one of those billionaires any minute now. So we're the only country that's kind of like, hey, billionaires shouldn't have to pay higher taxes because we all think there's a possibility we could get there. That's why. In every other country in the world, they have less hope apparently. Like you just kind of you're born middle class and you don't dream of being rich. Like you just live your middle class life.
yeah. You
America's
find
special in that
solace
way.
in being, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we used to kind of have that. We used to have I mean, it's the American dream, right? A white picket fence and three and
So
a half kids and a dog.
apparently the 80s ruined that. Like they're like in the stock market and all this stuff. I saw a special on how the 80s like changed the mentality of like you too can get rich overnight. Like that was a whole
It
thing.
was cocaine fueled.
Probably. I think you might be
We
right.
can get rich, man. We can get rich.
Yeah. So, real quick, other than that, Trump today met with the Secretary General of NATO, and his last several European visits have not gone well, and there's animosity. And this guy came in today and was like kissing Trump's ass right off the start. He was like, "Oh, he's like, you know, back when you were President 45." The most amazing thing, he got all these countries to up their defense spending, and it was truly great for NATO. And now that he's 47, they're already talking about committing more money. And like, he has been so good for NATO. And just kissed. And then it turned out to be the nicest. Like, Trump was extremely complimentary of NATO and of this guy. And like, it was just the friendliest. It was like, oh, wow. Like, I think that two parts to that. I think this guy did a great job. Like Trump has said openly, I like people that like me. And this guy went in and buttered his bread, and
Yeah.
Trump gave it back, and it was interesting. But also, I think with all the bad news going on in the world right now, just with Trump, like polling wise, Ukraine, he's not doing well, the economy, like I think he realized, like, yeah, I can't have another blow up right now. So I think he went in a little softer with this. I'm going to quell some fears of us leaving NATO because that's going to hurt the economy too. Like, I think that it was those two factors. Like, he was already trying to be a little nicer, and then this guy hit him right in the sweet spot.
Yeah, but Trump was asked by a reporter later today about staying in NATO, if we're going to
Mm.
stay in NATO, and he did what does he call it when his rambles circle back
Oh,
around?
hold on. It's not word, it's a word salad, but he calls it the weave. The weave.
Oh yeah, he
Yeah.
did. He did the weave.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not going to say
He did the
anything.
weave, no answer. It was yeah.
Yeah.
So we still don't know if we're going to be in NATO or not.
My favorite is that some people he started seeing either people talking shit about him or people close to him were like, "Hey, sir, everybody's talking about how your stories go in eight different directions," and instead of fixing it and like, "Oh, I got to work on that," and I do that, instead he was just like, "No, I'm going to claim I'm doing it on purpose," and that's like the most Trump thing ever. Is like I perfected the weave.
Well, I think in his head he is doing it like he's doing a good job of coming back.
He don't get upset with me, any ladies that might see this, but he's kind of got a girl brain. Like there's I can't I think it's Louis C.K. does a bit about when a girl tells a story and it like veers off on like eight different turns and like get back
Oh,
to the original story. Like that's
yeah.
kind of where Trump is. It's like you were asked about this specifically, and now we're talking about sharks and your electric boat failing. Like how did we get to here? Like
Right.
anyhow, and then also today, last bit of news, Trump. Sorry, I said this earlier, but today was the deadline for agencies to submit plans for mass layoffs. So we'll see what that ends up looking like. And then Trump, the DOJ asked the Supreme Court to hear his argument ending birthright citizenship. So that'll probably. I don't get how the Supreme Court works, but apparently they only hear cases like twice a year. So like there's a summertime that they hear cases, and then they take like 4 months to like give their decision, and then they do like a winter time one. There's something like that. They're not at work all the time. Those guys, they're phoning it
What?
in.
Yeah, I don't like this. I
Yeah,
don't like a Supreme
you
Court.
got to get like on the docket, like to like they're announcing who they're going to hear this summer, like here soon, and like those are
I
the
mean, this
cases.
gives them way too much time to hang out with Nazis and
Yeah,
take
they're all
bribes
retirement
from
age.
billionaires.
Yeah, like three or four of them are like close to 80, I'd say. So they're, I mean, they're up there. They can't work that hard. Um, anyhow, topic number one. All those things were the prelude. Topic number one. Uh, dude, have you seen? And I know you didn't read all this shit I sent you, but they announced yesterday they're making some drastic cuts to like climate regulation, like stuff with the EPA.
I've heard. Yeah, I've
What
heard.
have you seen about this? I want to hear what you know.
I don't know. I mean, I heard this a couple of weeks ago, so there's probably a lot of fresh stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just heard they're gonna cut all climate regulation, basically.
Not all, but they're cutting some interesting ones. So Trump has
Let's hear it.
famously called this a climate hoax. He talks about it all the time, which that's another one conservatives are winning the battle over, like the information battle. Because even I was thinking about this today. Joe Rogan, like 5 or 6 years ago, had Candace Owens on his show, and she said she doesn't believe in climate change, and like it got heated. Like it was like he was berating her for like not believing in climate science. And then recently, he's had guests on that are like, "Yeah, climate change is it's not real. Like humans aren't affecting this at all." Anyhow, they're winning that information. I think more people today would say they don't believe in climate change than 6 years ago.
Well, here's the thing: is they went after the media, they're
Mhm.
lying to you, and the scientists, they're lying to you.
Yeah, I can't
So
believe
like,
anything they say.
we can't believe anything the media or the scientists say, which is like my biggest pet peeve
It's
with
it's
Republicans, probably. It
it's
has to be.
it's troubling for our future that we've decided scientists are
Very.
not they're not trustworthy. We're going to need
Yeah.
them. We're gonna, whether it's like some disease, a plague that comes back, or a meteor coming at us, or whatever. Like we're going to need the scientists. Like we have to keep funding that. Those guys are going to save our life eventually. And I think not many people would agree with that statement right now. So anyhow,
Yeah, we
um,
need them. We need scientists. 130%. I mean, Elon's supposedly a scientist.
no, he's not a scientist. He's not an
Okay.
engineer. He's not a. He is a innovative thinker is what you
I
could
think
call
he
it.
said he's an engineer, though. He started out as an engineer.
I don't think he did. We can look that up at some point, but I don't think
Okay.
he did. Anyhow, so the EPA, led by Lee Zeldin, who is a congressman out of New York, he ran for governor this last time, and he got close for New York. He got closer than anybody thought he would. He's the head of the EPA. He officially, what is it? They asked the government, or they asked the department to reconsider official findings that greenhouse gases are harmful to public health. So that's the first step. Is so they're going to do some kind of a like a mandatory review. It's going to take a couple weeks, but then once the EPA comes out and it's set up this way, they have the right people in place. They need the EPA to now say that greenhouse gases are not harmful to public health. So specifically that. So if after this review they come out and say, "Yep, we just looked back at it and it turns out greenhouse gases are not harmful to human health," now they can undo all these rules. So first of all, what do you think the odds are that after this review, they're going to come back and go, actually, it turns out, yeah, the greenhouse gases are pretty harmful to human health?
Oh, it's 100%.
No, I think it's going to be 0%. Like I think they're not going to
Wait,
come out.
who's in charge of that?
Lee Zeldin,
Yeah,
MAGA.
but the science are there not scientists under him like actually conducting the
If they're,
experiments?
I would assume those are part of the people that have been removed. I Anybody that's pro climate change hoax, like they probably are not there anymore.
So then who's doing the studies?
I don't know. That's this is I I don't. All I know.
Is anybody doing the study? Hold
Let
on.
Let me ask you this, Docs. Do you
Like
think
this is
there's
one thing. Hold on. I want to say
okay?
something. This is something that I admire so much about scientists is they're not looking for most of the time they're not looking for an answer. And even if they are looking for an answer and they get a different answer, they will go with what is correct. Like there, does that make sense?
Yeah,
That's kind of a word
they
salad,
believe
but
the science.
yeah, they
Yeah,
believe the science, and then more scientists from all around the world try and like disprove
duplicate.
their science,
Yeah,
right?
they try to either duplicate or disprove it.
Right. And
Yeah,
then from there, we have multiple occasions, maybe 100, 10,000, however many times where like it's been proven right, or, if it's been proven wrong too many times, then they move on to something else, or they
yeah.
try to figure out what the actual answer is. And it's all math. It's all like numbers and
I know.
It's not like there's no lying. You
Okay.
can't lie. Numbers don't lie.
I hear you, but let me ask you this. Let's just put on our reality caps real quick.
Fucking Lee Zeldin.
Donald
Okay.
Donald Trump and Lee Zeldin, and I don't think there's going to be an email saying that they conspire to do this, but if Zeldin's doing it, Trump wants it. Okay, would you agree with that? The two of
Okay.
them are in
Sure.
favor of this. Would they
Yeah.
have asked for a review to see if greenhouse gases are really harmful to human health if they thought there was any chance that the review is going to come back going, yep, turns out climate change is real?
No.
The results are baked in here, buddy.
I
They
mean,
wouldn't.
there's already I'm sure thousands of studies, hundreds of
Well,
thousands of studies
there.
saying that greenhouse gases are horrible for humans. So then what are they going to deregulate?
So,
Let's go with this.
okay, I was gonna say I've heard a couple scientists on Rogan that claim that the science is bogus and that greenhouse gases aren't a problem. And that greenhouse gases are a couple different ones, but like carbon dioxide is one of the anyhow.
Yeah, that's what comes out of your exhaust pipe, and that's what people kill themselves with when they want to run the car in the garage and suffocate themselves.
Yep.
So, like,
So there was a 2009 ruling. It was this would potentially scrap that ruling. It was the U.S. government and the Supreme Court upheld it, saying that the planet heating is poses a threat to human health. Okay. So greenhouse gases cause the planet to heat, and that causes a threat to human health. The government came out with that. It got challenged in courts by the Republicans. It got upheld. That was a landmark ruling in 2009. If
okay.
they can prove that that was incorrect because greenhouse gases don't harm human health, then that ruling is gone. And with that ruling being gone, it opens the path for them to do a couple of different things. Um, let's see here. Somebody I saw a tweet where said, and this was a scientist saying it, but said Wednesday was the most consequential day of deregulation in American history. Um, scary. 31 announcements within a few hours that were seeking basically to undo every major rule designed to protect clean air and water as well as livable conditions. So, clean air and water were the main two. The actual heat going up was a part of it. Like parts of Texas that are now getting unlivable in my opinion. I'm going down there this weekend and I hate it because it's hot down there. The good neighbor rule, which is one of the first ones they mentioned, basically people that are putting pollution up into the air have to take into consideration which way the wind is blowing and where this pollution will blow, and like there can't be a community, and that's the first one they announced. Like so, the good neighbor rule, where your pollution is floating to, is gone. Um, Getting rid of requirements that power plants not befoul our waterways or dump toxic waste into the waterways. Uh, Toxic. And yeah, that rule that's part of the Clean Water Act, and that's gone, or that's going to be gone. None of this is official till they have their review. Um, Greenhouse gases. Sorry. This is I wrote this down for myself, but greenhouse gases supposedly drive up global temps. They fuel heat waves, floods, storms. Basically, all the erratic weather we supposedly been seeing is because of greenhouse gases.
Yeah,
If you believe the
that's.
scientists. Um,
Did you see that they're trying to privatize the National Weather Service now?
yeah, so they think that they think that they shouldn't be giving that information away for free, basically,
Yeah.
and they want to turn it into like a paid subscription, basically.
I mean, this is what the FAA uses as well.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the
Or,
government will get it for free, but like our local meteorologists, like apparently use the NOAA like information. That's how they make their forecasts,
yeah.
and they're if
Oh,
you
our
believe
fire department gets it too.
if you believe the theory,
Yes.
then the information is still going to be there. It's just going to be there for purchase,
Okay.
subscription based, like Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah, make it fund itself. The taxpayer shouldn't be funding it. Like the theory basically is, well, if you don't want the weather, you shouldn't have to pay for it. Right now, everybody pays for the weather, that whether they look at it or not. It should only be the people that are actually using it that should pay for it. That's the theory.
I wonder if this is gonna. I mean, I really hope that my people and me by me saying my people, I'm talking about my hikers and my campers and my mountain bikers and my outdoor people, the
Mm.
people who use the public lands, the people who go on these free weather app services to check the weather so they can hike a 14er without getting caught in a lightning storm. I'm hoping that they step up and they start like I don't know, chaining themselves to trees again. I don't know what we're gonna do.
You know,
We're gonna
you
have
know what
to.
they're going to do? They're going to step up. All right, they're going to step up and start paying for the Weather Channel app or whatever it is they use. That's what's going to happen in reality. Yeah. Sorry, buddy. I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I think that's one of the things he's gonna like most easily do. Like I think that's
Ready
gonna
for a fight.
yeah, that's that one's gonna happen. So my question is real quick, where is Maha? Because apparently like the soot that comes out of coal mines and all this other stuff ends up in the waterways is known to cause cancer and all kinds of stuff. Like make America healthy again. Like that's
I
a
saw
tip.
Maha today.
Well, real quick, isn't that kind of a double-sided coin? Like we got to attack the food, and if there's things in the drinking water that are giving us cancer, that
Yes.
should be a part of Maha. But
And,
apparently,
I think Maha's been brushed under the rug. He did his job. He's
dude,
been brushed under the rug. I don't think he's going to do anything. He was on TV today misspelling like chemicals that weren't even like that bad for you.
yeah, he apparently, and I don't know anything about vaccinations, but apparently, like he listed as one of the things. I wish I remember. It was a big word. He listed something that like one of the side effects from the measles shot, and apparently you have a 1 in a million chance of getting that side effect versus if you get the measles, you have a 1 in 1,000 chance of dying. But he's just
Is
throwing
it
shit
one in a
out.
thousand of dying?
That's what I saw today. I don't know if that's accurate.
Okay.
I saw that on a thing.
Okay.
So anyhow, but that's I'd like to. I think that this is something we could have some help with, Democrats wise. Like challenge this and bring it up to Maha. There's different types of pollution that are known to cause cancer that the Trump administration is trying to make it easier for these companies to just dump in our water or put in our air. And apparently everything with air from what I read, I just learned all this today is like soot related. Like the soot goes into the air and it eventually ends up in our water systems. So
Yeah.
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 Anyhow,
Can you
Maha,
call Maha? Can you
st
call Maha like you call your senators?
I don't think you can. I know like a couple Maha people, but I feel like I'm outmatched in the Maha movement. Like as soon as I bring up one thing, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, well what about seed oils?" And they can start going down a path where I'm like, I don't know. I back down right away. It's like I don't know anything about
Yeah,
that.
and most of the stuff that RFK is saying is bullshit. I do think the seed oils are not that great for you.
I don't know.
Um,
It seems like a lot of the stuff he's saying food wise, I agree with, but I'm also like, okay, like what's the solution? Like, do you make everybody start cooking their stuff in beef tallow? That's going to drive prices up. Like, if that's the answer, okay, but like, how do you do it? How do you make better food affordable? I don't know how you do that in a free
well, it's I
market.
can tell you one way it's not. It's the way they're doing it right now, where they're putting these farmers in Iowa out of business,
Yeah,
and and then Monsanto's going to come and buy these farmers up or buy these farms up and then start producing worse food for more money with all their chemicals and BS they have and
yeah.
destroying the soil so we can't ever plant there again. Like, there's a lot of things going on. Like, my head is exploding.
If I had to bet on who's going to come out best in this whole deal, it's major corporations. Like billionaires
Oh, yeah,
and big corporations are going to come out of the
100%.
Trump presidency really well set up.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. They're
yeah.
super excited. Have you
So
seen Kevin O'Leary? I want to punch that
is
guy
that
in the
that's
face.
the Shark Tank guy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's certain people on the MAGA side that I can't take seriously, and as soon as he opens his mouth, I just start giggling to myself because I'm like, he's gonna say some outrageous shit. Like, let's hear it. What do you got?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow,
Mm.
all right. So the other fun thing of the night is the public lands thing. It's fun, isn't it? So first of all, we have a mutual friend. I mentioned this earlier. A mutual friend that like he knows a lot about this. I talked to him today at one point. I'm Clint. I don't know why I'm hiding it. I was talking to Clint, and I told him what I was kind of researching. I was looking online, and I tried to be all smart with him, and I was like, well, the Antiquities Act of 1906. Like I said it like, of course, but I had just learned that. And then he took it a step further, and he told me a lot of because apparently he was in archaeology in college. So he had to deal with a lot of these native lands and national monuments. So like he had a whole
Yeah.
history on that. I tried to get him to come on, but he's really upset about this aspect, the national monuments and whatnot. I don't know if you remember in 2017, Trump did the Bears Ears National Monument, and the other one was called like Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument. But he
Okay.
cut he cut Bears Ears by 85%. Like he shrunk that down. and it was awesome at the time. Clinton did a picture that he put on Instagram. I need to find it and see if I can splice it in here. But it was a bear with their ears cut off, and he said, like, Trump, you cut off my ears. It was hysterical. Um, Anywho, uh, Trump, we kind of mentioned.
Now he's going after all of them,
Yeah, so we kind of
basically.
talked about this. So I should have done research on what a sovereign wealth fund is, but Trump wants to basically start a sovereign wealth fund, which is basically like America has a stash of money that we're playing in the markets, like we're investing in Bitcoin. Like there are certain countries that do this, and Trump thinks we should be doing that too. The problem is we're 36 trillion in debt. So any new money we have should go to paying off the debt. So he can't write it into the budget that like, hey, we're also going to stick 100 billion in our sovereign wealth fund. Like, is that they're trying to make the debt closest to zero as possible? They say.
Yeah,
Anyhow, so his
they say.
solution is you could basically bypass the Congress and having to do a budget. You could just never make this any of their business and sell off your assets. Okay, what are America's assets? You might say. It's our public lands. It's national monuments, national forest. He's already in the last week
I
basically.
want to say these are lands that you and I and every American citizen has a stake in. These are our lands. We can go, we can use these lands, we can hunt, we can camp, we can fish, we can mountain bike, we can disc golf. Like we own these lands. This is where all of our outdoor recreation exists.
Okay, we can do all that, or we could cash in and invest in Bitcoin. One of them sounds a little more exciting. No, I'm just joking. I'm not down with that plan, but that is the two options of what we can do at this point. So, because of this, he wants to liquidate public lands to finance the sovereign wealth fund. If he does it that way, then the theory of Trump and his administration is they can just take that money and stick it directly in a sovereign wealth fund and not have to ever run it through Congress ever. So that's the whole point here. By the way, he already, I think it was late last week or early this week, he opened up a huge area of forest for logging because the Canadian lumber with the tariffs. So he's opening up for them to cut down parts of different forests, get lumber. I'm
Yeah,
not a
so
fan of
we
that.
actually there's 640 million acres of public land in the United States.
Yeah. And
That's about 28% of our total land.
the couple MAGA type people that I've mentioned this to, they were like, "Well, who's going to own it? Can we still use it?" And it's like, I doubt it. They're gonna drill and they're gonna mine it. Apparently, there's lithium in certain parts of the country they want to get to. Like it's get
Remember the first time you went camping with me, like outside of college, out after college. Remember we went to what's that national park, national forest in Decatur,
oh, the LBJ National Grasslands.
LBJ National
Yeah,
Grasslands. Remember we set up camp and we like cooked food. I think we caught some bacon on
yeah.
fire.
You you
It
had a
was
bacon grease fire. Don't say we. I was sitting there and you had a
I
bacon
had a
grease
bacon
fire.
grease fire. It was
Yeah,
fun. But remember the big loud doo 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 doo
yeah. It
all
was
night long.
drilling. Yeah,
Really? That's what you're getting into. Like,
yeah.
I remember I was like, what is that noise? What are we doing? Like, this is a national forest that it should be quiet. There should be owls hooting and,
Yeah.
you know,
So anyhow, um, so apparently just increasing the leasing for natural resources like those oil, like that's all leases that they're letting companies
yeah.
come in and get the oil, and America gets basically money out of the lease. Apparently that ain't enough. Even if he opened that up to every national land we have, public land, that wouldn't be enough for the sovereign wealth fund. The only way to really do this is to liquidate. So that's what they're looking at. Okay.
I'm
Um,
selling it.
yeah, selling it. So did you know
So
this?
if they sell the people's land, then they need to give the money back to the people.
That's not going to happen. It's going to get invested on our behalf. And it's going to be to place it's going to be invested in certain ways that are very beneficial to Trump's allies. So that's the part that's going to hurt the most. But get this. Did you know that there is an anti-parks caucus? You know how there's different caucuses, different groups in Congress? One of the groups in the House is called the Anti-Parks Caucus, okay? 28 members in the Anti-Parks Caucus. Take a guess. They're all on one side of the aisle. See if
Can
you
I
can guess.
call the anti-parks
I think you'd have
caucus?
to call them all individually, but take a guess. All
Uh,
28, are they Republican or Democrat?
oh, they're all Democrat.
What?
Or they're all Republicans. Sorry.
You're
Yeah,
killing me,
none of them are
son.
Democrats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the only two that you would,
I was writing a note. I've got call my senator, call Maha, call anti-parks caucus. I think I'm just gonna start getting on the phone and staying on hold all day while I'm working and just
so
like just call all these people
are
and
you
yell
in
at them.
are you in Lauren Boebert's district by chance?
No,
Okay. Well, so she is one. I only recognized a couple names on there. The only two that I think you would know is Lauren Boebert is part of that, and then Dan Crenshaw. I go back and forth on whether or not I like Dan Crenshaw because he says some reasonable shit certain times, but he's
no.
part of the anti-Parks caucus.
What
Um,
reasonable shit said?
so they, just so you know, they believe that it is unconstitutional for the government to own any land. Like the government
It's not
has
the
no.
government. It's me. It's you. It's
Okay.
all of us. Not
Well,
the
that
government.
their reasoning is it's like I
They
said,
manage it.
unconstitutional for the government to own that land. Anyhow, that's their reasoning.
I,
Apparently,
I hate
Utah
this group.
Utah's Republican governor asked the Supreme Court to rule that federal land ownership is unconstitutional, and that was just in January of this year. The Supreme Court actually sided against him, so they
Thank
kind
you,
of
sir.
saved the day. But that made it all to the Supreme Court, and it was simply him saying that the federal land, that the government cannot own federal land. It's unconstitutional. That's what that was all about. So the Republican House of Representatives just like 2 weeks ago adopted a new rule uh, that would basically it would basically make it where they could consider the value of public lands if they are sold, and that's like the first step. They've got to do a couple of
Who's
procedural
considering
things.
the value?
I guess the government, but they made a rule where hey, basically the government should put this on Zillow and see what it could get. Like that's kind of what that is. So they should explore to see like, hey, how much could we get if we sold this land? So that's they got to go in some steps here, and that's step one, and they've already done that. Okay, so anybody who's saying they're not actually going to do it, they might not, but they're looking into it right now. They're seeing if it's worth a fight. How much could they get for this land? So in October 2021, Biden had restored Bears Ears and the Grand National Staircase to their original boundaries. Those are the two that Trump cut. So I'd say right off the bat, I would expect that that's going to go back to where Trump had it. That's doing a whole, they're waffling, but that's going to go back. I think he'll do those two first. I just have a hunch that since he already did them once, I think I could see him doing that relatively soon because he did it and he got away with it. Okay. Now, the Antiquities Act of 1906 gives the president power to create national monuments but not to reduce or rescind them. Um,
Ooh,
and that's the only true legislature that says anything about our national parks. Teddy Roosevelt, I think, was like who got the ball rolling on national parks, and then FDR at one point like expanded upon it. But 1906 is the only. If we want to talk about what the Constitution says and blah blah blah, that's what we have is 1906. The president has the power to do it, but not to rescind or what was that? Ba, ba, ba
minimize.
rescind or reduce them. And the Supreme Court upheld that. That was challenged, and the Supreme Court said, no, that is correct. So that supposedly is settled law.
Love it.
Now, there's not any rules anywhere that say you can't. Like that one says he has the power to only to buy them, nothing else. But what if he tries to sell them? Who's going to, like, it's going to have to go to the Supreme Court. And at that point, we're dealing with a 6-3 majority for conservatives. The Supreme Court has already said once that they backed it up, but they could always choose to overrule that. So that's what this is going to come down to is Trump's going to have to try to sell off some kind of land. He's going to do it. He's going to sell some land and then it's going to get challenged and it's going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. And does the Antiquities Act of 1906 hold up? Now, since that, there's been several laws that affirm how we handle our national monuments and national lands, okay, forests and all that. Clint actually taught me about NAGPRA, the National American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act. Basically, it means anything we do on a lot of these different lands, like Bears Ears. These lands are normally former native lands. So it says
Mhm.
basically we can't do anything there without consulting with those tribes that historically live there and working in coordination with them to do it in a respectful way. It says a lot more than that, but that's kind of the gist of it. There was
That
even
makes
another one after that. I didn't even take the time to read into
well,
that one.
but how did so Bears Ears was part of that, right? Because there was a lot of native like rituals being done on those
Yeah,
lands, but he still was able to sell it.
he shouldn't have been able to do that,
Fair
but
enough.
he got away with it. It's one of those where it's like, hey, he's like we talked about this last week, but he's technically not allowed to do it. He did it, and what's the punishment? It turns out we don't have a punishment. So, and I guess nobody sued on their behalf. I don't know if they did or not. I should have looked into that. But so that's what we're dealing with here is he's going to have to sell some. Hopefully, he doesn't sell it all at once. If he sells it all at once, it's going to suck. Because then while it's going through the courts, who knows what's happening to our land? Um, I'm
Oh
surprised he
yeah.
hasn't. I'm surprised he hasn't talked about just privatizing the parks at least, because I feel like he could find a way to make money, charge us a buttload to go use
Well,
our own land.
that's part of this. Like if somebody ends up buying
Yellowstone.
yeah, let's just say Yellowstone, maybe one of the most famous parks in America. Like, would they start drilling on there? I hope not. Like, I would hope that they would like open up their own little Disney World or whatever and start charging $70 to get in there,
Mm.
for a day pass, and that's probably what somebody who buys that would do, which would suck because right now it's like you spend
So
20 bucks a day or you spend $80 for a whole year and you can go to any of the national parks and it's amazing.
I think it depends on what's under the ground. Like what's under there. Because even if it's a profitable park, if there's lithium under there, I mean, the corporation, the trust that buys this land is only going to want to see how they can maximize their profit out of this land. So
Parks are huge too, so
I'm
it
just
would be
saying,
speculative.
yeah,
But yeah,
if there's certain minerals under there, it ain't going to be, hey, let's just up the rate a little bit to have people keep coming to enjoy this land. No, that's not going to be the most
there
profitable
goes
situation.
Yellowstone River because they're going to start pulling out lithium and poisoning the water in Yellowstone. Yeah, or
I'm just telling you, that's the realistic way of looking at it.
how do I fight this? How do we fight this,
Well,
Andy?
so just like the last one we talked about with the EPA, it's like, where's the MAGA? And I told you, I said, I think we have a chance of activating MAGA on this. Like, as a small chance, but I think, sorry,
Hunter,
MAHA.
Hunter,
Yeah,
Maha.
MAHA is what I meant to say.
Oh,
If we could activate MAHA, hey, things that cause cancer, this administration is trying to make it easier for corporations to dump toxic waste, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think we could get them on board there, okay? I think in this case, there's got to be a good, just from people I know, and I grew up in Texas, so I'm probably skewed, but how many people do we know that are Trump voters that also very much appreciate our public lands?
there's a few. Yeah.
I'd say there's more than a few. And like we somehow it's not going to be us because nobody's watching, but the message needs to get out. Like this is happening right now, and if you only watch Fox News, you're not going to know about this. So somehow the message has to get out. Like, hey, look, your public lands are at risk. Trump wants to sell them. I think you could get a little bit of an uprising among the MAGAs. What's weird is the billionaires have managed to convince like the lower and middle class MAGA voters of a lot of weird shit. Hey, the billionaires should get tax cuts, and they're like, yeah, and it's like, whoa. But this one, like, yeah, the federal government shouldn't own any land, and yeah, like, hold on, like that's this. You're not going to get the money when they sell that. This ain't coming to us. I hate to tell you.
Okay.
So
Steve Rennell, he's a good a good voice for the outdoors.
I think they're kind of playing with fire with this public lands thing more than the EPA thing. I think they're going to slash a bunch of EPA stuff, and there'll be some protests, but it won't stick. The public lands thing could be a problem. Like I could see like some Ranella type. Like I could see that being. I think that's even one where Joe Rogan would stand up and be like, well, "What the heck?" Maybe I'm wrong.
I
Um,
hope so. I really
yeah.
hope so.
So I think
He needs to start speaking out about it now. Like, I mean, I haven't seen him have Steve Rennell on there in a while,
no.
which he's just he's basically won't have anybody that's even close to left. That's
So
not just all right.
I don't know if I said this on air last time, but I'm really curious if Bill Burr and Rogan are still friends. Like just with everything that Burr is saying about Elon, and Elon and Rogan are clearly buddies. Like I gotta wonder what their relationship is like. And I'm starting to think probably not good. And even Bill Burr just had a new special come out on Hulu, which I don't have Hulu. I wish I could watch it. But that just came out like in the last week, I think. And normally, any of Rogan's buddies, when they have a new special come out, they're on the show the day before or the day of, kind of promoting their thing. And like, nope, no Burr appearance on there at all. So I got to believe that that relationship's not good. Um,
Yeah.
I think Rogan seems to not, he's not going to have anybody on that would make him have to agree with a negative thing about Trump. Like, he doesn't want to get put in that position where somebody says something and he has to, like, go, yeah, Trump shouldn't have done that. In my opinion, I think that's where he's at.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
So, okay.
Public
So,
lands.
did you add public lands to your list of things you got to call about?
No. I
Okay.
mean, yes. I'm calling, what is it they called? Parks.
The
Parks
Anti-Parks Caucus. I can't believe that's a
anti-park.
real thing. Yeah, I looked that up
Yeah,
today, and yeah,
who's anti-parks, man?
I
Who is anti-parks?
hey,
What the
you know something? Go back in your email and the links I sent you today. One of those articles is just about the Anti-Parks Caucus. Okay, spend 5 minutes
okay.
to read up on that.
This is why I didn't read your emails because I knew I was just gonna bum me out. Like,
Yeah, can I
There's an
say?
anti-Parks caucus. Who do you call? How do you get this fixed? How do we
Th
fix it?
all you can do
What,
is call your senator or congressman, and if they're already Democrats, then I don't know what you do. Like,
can I protest the anti-Parks caucus?
you could go to a town hall. The town halls are still happening, man. I know they said they're not going to do anymore, but I think earlier today there were two town halls, and the clips are all over Twitter and whatnot.
Yeah,
And
wait, watch
it was interesting because it was like old redneck white dudes that were like giving some shit to their Republican senators. It was amazing.
Good.
So
Good. Okay.
yeah.
So this is it's I feel like it's kind of I think like Trump is still gonna be able to do his little crap over here, but I
Mm.
think the Republicans are gonna have to like really tiptoe in the House and the Senate.
This is looking so much like the Tea Party in 2010. Like hear me out on this, but in 2010, like the grassroots conservative movement got really mad at Senate leadership and House leaders. They got mad at their elected officials. They thought they weren't standing up to Obama, all this bad stuff that they hated was happening, Obamacare and all that. And a lot of the old guard got voted out and replaced with like young, fresh Tea Party MAGA that were
Mm,
like kind of Lauren Boeberts of their time. Okay. But it was a
yeah.
little bit of a civil war that first midterm. It was the Republicans took the House back, but they kind of took each other out to do it, so they were at odds. And Democrats
Who
were
was the Speaker of the House at that point?
in
What was his name?
2008. I know John Boehner was the last one with a spine that I can remember, and the Tea Party pretty much ran him out.
Yeah, but there was a young guy. Maybe he was in charge of the Senate, but
You thinking of Paul
he was
Ryan?
Paul Ryan. That's what I'm thinking
He
of.
wasn't till after Boehner.
He
Yeah,
bowed out, didn't he?
he did eventually, and he now every now and then speaks negatively about Trump. So,
Okay.
um, but and Paul Ryan was the leader of the House when Trump got elected in 2016. So he helped get the tax cuts passed that first time. Uh,
And
Anyhow, I think that things are going to get ugly on the Democrat side this first midterm. Like, it's going to feel like, oh my God, we're so divided. How are we going to beat Trump in 2026? But I think that there's going to be a changing of the guard. I think there's a strong chance that AOC is going to primary Schumer in New York to try to be a senator and kick Schumer out. And that'll be Schumer's the head of the Senate. Like, he's got the corporate Senate behind him. And I think Ocasio-Cortez is going to come after his seat. So that's my theory is that Dems will take back the House. The Senate map is ugly. Like, I don't think they can take the Senate back. They're just it's not a good map for them. The people that are up for re-election or anyhow. But that's what I think we're going to see happen is a bit of a bloodbath and a bit of a civil war on the Democrat side in 2026. And then hopefully coming out of that, there's a clear front runner that's got the new message that could challenge whoever the Republican is going to be in 2028, whether it's
okay.
Trump, or I saw a thing the other day because Trump keeps joking about running again for a third term.
Yeah.
They'd have to get two-thirds of Congress to support
He'd
that.
be
It's not
like
going to happen.
88 years old or something.
Well,
84, 87, 6, something.
you know who is leading the pack right now for potential 2028 with like under 50% of the vote, but the highest percentage is
For the Republicans?
Don
Oh,
Jr. Yeah. I would love for it to be Don Jr. in 2028. Like, sign me up for that fight
please.
all day long. He
Please.
doesn't have the charisma of his dad at all. But I don't think it's gonna be him. I don't know who it's gonna be, but we'll see. There's a couple of Republicans that are setting themselves up to be like the anti-Trump, and Thomas Massey is the only
Mm,
Republican that didn't vote for the continuing resolution. I don't agree with Thomas Massey on much, but he's principled. Like, he believes what he believes, and he was like, no, he's like, I'm not going to sign this crap budget. Like, and Trump was tweeting at him, like threatening to primary him, and Massey's been tweeting back at him, like they're having a little cat fight.
good.
And then Rand Paul is the one in the Senate that is saying he's not going to vote for it. So I think they're trying to leave a little bit of room between themselves and Trump so that if the economy goes bad, or if this presidency goes bad, they can be like, hey, I'm the Republican answer to this because I wasn't for some of the shit they did. I think that's what they're trying to do. So,
Okay.
but
Yeah, yeah.
that's my newest thing is I think we're going to see a Tea Party of the left, and the Schumer Pelosi kind of old brigade is going to be out, and there's going to be some young, energetic, too far left for me type candidates. Like that, I'm just being real. Like, I'm not far left, and I think that that's the move it's going to have. And then coming out of that, it's going to be the best talker of the group that's going to be further left than I want versus God knows what's on the right at that point. Like, who knows? It could be JD, it could be a Massey or a Paul, it could be Don Jr. Like, it could be a lot of things.
Hmm.
It all depends on if Trump turns things around and has a good economy and all that, then he could easily hand it off to whoever successor he wants, which would be Don Jr. probably. Like that's what I. But if things are going bad and Trump has a terrible approval rating, the right's going to try to pull a Rand Paul or a Thomas Massey out and be like, "Hey, this is your answer. He's not like Trump."
Yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah. They're
I think
setting
that's where we're
themselves
at.
up for both options. Huh.
It's a smart
This
move. I think Paul and Massey might see a little bit of what's going on right now and go, "Hey, it'd be nice if I had a little bit of daylight between me and them." So,
Bernie's still packing the house.
yep. Bernie needs to be like the I don't know what to call him, but he needs to be like the guy that's kind of looking over all this, like almost the puppeteer and like helping these young pups, like getting
Now,
them on the right
I
message.
like what he's doing right now. He's just out there just spreading the message. People
Yeah,
are paying to see him or willing to go see him talk about the oligarchy. So
yeah.
let's just spreading that message, get Bernie out there. The more of them need to be doing it.
When the billionaire tax cuts get passed, because they will get passed, like that's going to be the moment to highlight like what brackets got a tax cut, which ones didn't, where that money's coming from, what it's doing to our national debt. Like and I think that's what Schumer and the ones that are going to let this budget go through, they're saving their gun or what are you, keeping their powder dry. That's an expression. They're keeping their
Okay.
powder dry for the September fight, and I think that they think that by then, this is the calculus. By then, things are going to be bad in the economy, and it'll be really easy to win over some swing voters by pointing out how terrible this new, because the one in September is going to be the Trump budget. Like they're going to spend the next couple of months getting that together, and it's going to cut a lot of money from a lot of people that need it. So that is the time to strike. This fight right now is not worth having. That's the calculus.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I mean, the closer we get to the midterms, the
Mhm.
harder we are gonna have to fight. So maybe we have to save some energy up and wait
I
until the
think
midterms to get out
there's other
there.
things they could be fighting about right now. This public lands thing, the EPA thing, like get out, get on TV, be loud, like rile
Yeah.
people up about that. Like I said,
Well,
the
I
budget
think a
doesn't
lot
seem
of
to be the one.
I think they're using the court system in a lot of this early
Yeah,
stuff. Just
that's why the Democrats aren't my favorite right now, though, is because they don't understand what they need to be doing. Like the court system is the way to truly rectify it, but then on top of that, be on podcasts talking about this. Go on anybody that'll have you on their podcast. Go on it. Like get their side out, and they're not like they still think that oh cool I'm going to do CNN tomorrow that'll be great, and it's like nobody's seeing that. You need a viral clip from a podcast that turns into a reel that people see.
go on the Midas touch.
Yeah. I don't know. They're all afraid to do it. And right now, especially like the Schumer group, are they going to go on after voting to let this budget through? They're going to get torn to pieces.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is like the left will hold your feet to the fire, even the left media, like
Yeah.
the right. Just let me tickle your balls a little bit,
Yeah.
Trump, like
Go,
what are you doing?
go on Rogan and have him just agree with everything you
Yeah,
say.
just
Like,
tickle those
yeah.
balls a little bit, those little ivories. Let's go.
Yeah. So, hey,
Uh
oh, go ahead.
no, yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, the left will actually hold anybody's feet to the fire, even the Democrats. They'll tell them, hey, you're not doing enough,
Yeah.
you're not fighting enough. So they're afraid to
So,
do it. They're afraid to go on and get berated by their own, I guess.
yeah. So last thing I'll say, sad moment. I'm just starting to realize that I think we're not going to get the Elon John Stewart interview because Elon said he would do it, and then or he said he'd do it if it's not edited, and the Daily Show said we'd be delighted. And then Elon immediately started kind of backtracking on everything, and that very next show, John Stewart talked about it and basically called Elon out on not coming. But then since then, I have heard nothing, and I don't think it's going to happen. Especially now that Elon's going to have to give a deposition in court. Elon can't afford to go on and take questions from somebody on a
Oh,
public setting because they might not be the same answer he's going to give to court. So I think that that's not going to happen. I was very excited for that, and I think that I
I
can
didn't
say
think it was gonna happen at all.
I
I
thought
knew.
for a moment I thought it was going to happen. Like I really I. What's funny is I'll bet certain people called Elon, like Rogan. I hate to keep talking about Rogan, but I'll bet certain people called him and were like, "Hey, dude, don't do it. Like John
Yeah,
Stewart is good at what he does. Do not go." And I'll bet he probably got some. As soon as that went public, he got probably his inbox was lighting up with people being like, "Hey, bro, like I love you."
everybody just sent him the Bill O'Reilly or the Tucker
Tucker Carlson,
Carlson.
yeah.
Yeah,
He used to do debates against Bill O'Reilly in front of like colleges. Hey, you can
those
find
were
them all on
good.
YouTube. They're great. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and they actually had like a civil discourse.
those two actually did. Like I very much appreciate that. I wish there was more like, man, sorry, one last thing. Have you heard all the people getting upset about Gavin Newsom's podcast?
Yeah, I'm angry.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I have no problem with his theory here of, hey, I'm going to bring on some right wing people and we're going to have civil discourse and show that we can get along. Like, in principle, I get that, but
We're past that.
he's had like Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon on, and he's just like, yeah, you got a point. And I was like, what? Like, if you're gonna have them on, defend your views, and he's not at all. And it's just like, man, you're kind of getting like Charlie Kirk. I don't like Charlie Kirk at all, but Charlie Kirk was prepared, and every little thing Newsom said, Charlie Kirk had a fucking zinger to come at him about something hypocritical that the left does or whatever. And like Gavin just kind of kept laughing it off, and I was like, man, that interview is kind of making me lean back to the right. I'm just like, what's going on here? Like, the left is not doing a good job of standing up for anything.
Yeah, I thought Gavin Newsom was actually smarter than that. And like,
He's clearly making a play for president in 2028, and this is how he's going to do it is by doing his
bad
podcast,
move.
and
Bad move.
yeah,
He's
he's going
gonna
to
go.
alienate himself from the left.
Nobody wants to vote center right
But
now.
the thing he's taken the most heat for though was his views on trans people in sports, and he was actually kind of right where I'm at with that. So like I agreed with him with that, but if you say that and you're trying to be a candidate for the left, like oh you got no hope, man. Like the left
Well,
isn't there.
nobody's thinking about the trans thing. That's the thing. It's not even an issue.
He
It's
he
not a
let
real issue. It's only an issue on the right. It's not an issue.
well, Charlie Kirk brought it up and Gavin took the bait. So that
It's not.
poor showing by Gavin, in my opinion, for the first couple episodes. And I didn't watch the whole thing. I've just seen clips, but what I've seen has been not cool. So boo Gavin Newsom. I'll say that. So, but
Blue
I'll
Avenues.
I'll I'll, gi-
Yeah,
I'll give the
I
right a
thought he
win.
was gonna. I thought he was gonna be something like, you know,
Yeah, he's a smooth talker. But
yeah.
here's the thing: I want to try to call balls and strikes like correctly. Like Charlie Kirk schooled Gavin Newsom. Like there's people on the left that are like, no, he didn't, and I'm like, nah, he did. Like it was
Yeah.
definitely a victory in the Charlie Kirk side.
I definitely didn't watch it because I heard probably Kyle Clancy or David Packman, one of them say like Gavin Newsom just is not stepping up to the plate.
Yeah, he's trying, and like I said, I like the theory, but he's not executing it well at all. And he's
Uh,
picking the worst people. Like have a Republican on that you can sit there and have a civil discourse with. I'm all for that. Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon, like, what are we doing, buddy? Like, come on.
who was
Anyhow,
the other one? There was another one he did.
I can't
Was it
remember.
Tucker?
No, it hasn't been Tucker. Chris Cuomo had Tucker on this week, and
That's right.
I still haven't watched it. A family member of mine that I love watched it and was like, "Yeah, I watched that, and Tucker really made a lot of sense." And I was like, "No." So anyhow, I'm scared to watch that now. Um,
Uh,
anyhow, so that's all I got.
all right,
Yeah,
let's end it.
I'm going to Texas for the weekend. If anything happens, we'll hop on. But other than that, I'll see you next week, buddy.
Like and subscribe and write us a message. We have a Spotify account again.
Oh, did you get that set up?
They kicked us off. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, and then Blue Sky.
Yeah, Blue
What else?
Sky, Confident Idiocracy podcast and Confident Idiocracy or Confident Idiot Andy on Blue Sky. And yeah,
All right.
like and
Shit.
subscribe. Yeah,
Peace.
everything's gonna be fine, buddy. Talk to you later.
Later.